All right. I call this meeting to order. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Ready? Begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Both directors are present. Approval of the agenda. Are there any changes to the agenda?
No changes to the agenda.
All right. Are you okay with the agenda? So we do the same. Motion to approve the agenda? Yes.
I'll make a motion to approve.
All right. A second. Thank you very much. Agenda approved. Any public comment?
We have one member of the public on Zoom. Mr. Barnes, do you have a public comment at this time? Okay, I guess not.
All right. So then we will move on to approval of the minutes.
So you'll just be accepting them because Director Schneider wasn't here.
Gotcha. All right. So we accept the minutes. So then we move on to number 4, review of committee roles and responsibilities.
So this was last updated last year, actually, February 2nd, 2022, just to reflect that we meet quarterly as a committee now. Other than that, nothing has really changed. So there aren't any staff recommended changes at this time, but if you guys had any, we could prepare it and take it to the board.
Okay. Did you have a chance to look at it? Anything that you would want to update?
Or any questions? Okay.
Great. All right. Number 5, review of strategic plan parks components.
So we did provide the entire strategic plan, just for reference. We're concerned for this committee with packet page 12 and 13. And so section 2.1, that one is not expected to be completed until the year 2027. 2.2, our master plan update, we will be budgeting that in the following budget year, so not this upcoming budget year. Complete the parks portion of the Civic Center building, and so as we get into the CIP, you'll see that we have budgeted for that for this year. That is what it is scheduled for. And then public and private partnerships, that's ongoing. We're starting off early this year, February 25th. We're still getting all of this ready for this event. We'll be having a community coffee with our representatives Saturday. So that'll be going out soon. And this is kind of like an ongoing thing. Steve, do you want to elaborate? Just use your mic.
We're on 2.4.
Yep.
So 2.4, it basically talks about the programs and such. Let me just read it, I guess it'd be easier. The district will continue working with local civic groups and businesses to promote district events and participate in community events. These groups include, but are not limited to, both the Chambers, Phelan and Pinion Hills, Phelan and Pinion Hills senior groups, Snowline Joint Unified School District, the Kiwanis Club, Mojave Archers, and CR&R. Also, it talks about below talks about volunteer and stuff like that. Some of the examples are our teaching garden. We have a volunteer that does that every month. The archery volunteers their time to have classes during the summer. Line dancing every Friday is volunteered. And the senior groups are volunteered for seniors to join them, as an example.
And then 2.5, there's no definitive end date for this goal. This is all funding dependent. If you read it, it just explains what that is. And should we ever get the funding for this or want to move forward with it, we would bring it back to the board. So I don't know if you guys have any changes in this. Mainly this is for reference, just for when we're putting together our budget. We try to tie it back as best as possible to our strategic plan and the goals that have been outlined by the board. And then, of course, the strategic plan will go to the full board for any necessary modifications, revisions this year.
Okay. Any questions?
So
go ahead.
the strategic plan was updated and approved in 2022, correct?
Yeah, annually this goes back to the board.
So any comments, questions, anything on that one?
You mentioned that this is tied back to the goals that we achieve.
Yeah, so the strategic plan is the goal. So it's a policy of the district to kind of just give staff direction on what the priorities are. They change, obviously, so this has been through many revisions, and then we bring this annually to the board to see if there's something that needs to be moved up or moved out, priority or added, as projects come online.
Thank you. And the water strategic plan, the entire strategic plan is included. So you can look over that at your leisure.
To avoid a Brown Act issue, we are just reviewing the parks portion today.
All right, thank you. So then we will move on to 6, review of park and recreation capital improvement and maintenance plan.
So that's your handout, and this is posted on the website as well. This is the big sheet here. That's our CIP table. Steve, if you don't mind, I can do this first box, and then you can go through the maintenance section. A little tricky. Okay, so we're discussing the green items, so that is this year's upcoming budget, so this is the process that we're working on. So this is, when we're talking about this stuff, this is strictly for the government fund portion of whatever projects we're working on. So it could include some solid waste stuff, but we're going to stick to the parks portion of government fund today. And so number 1, that's phase 3 and 4 of our parks project. And so basically, that's the whole big empty lot out behind the building. That would be new park components. And so we did put a placeholder in here, so anything that you see in blue italics, it's a placeholder, so it could happen, but it's not definitive. And so what we did is we put 2.7 million approximately in there, and that is in order to cover this portion, which would be modified. This is if you look at this sheet, this handout, which is on the website. This was what we submitted for a grant last year for land and water conservation. And so the total project cost for this is 2.7 million, and they do require matching. And so we will be putting in for 1.7 million again this year. We'll modify the components slightly, and I'll get to that in a minute, why. And so that's why that's in here. It's the whole amount of this section, but 1.7 million of it would come from grant funds. So if we get the grant funds, we do it.
Sorry, I was just wanting to, so the land and water conservation is 2.7.
Oh, I'm sorry, it's 2.7 million, yeah. I have another figure, it's 2.7 million, and so that's what that would be. And then there was a matching component, which we would have to pay as well. And then the government portion of phase 1, that's our, the parks and solid waste are going to pay a portion of the new civic building. And so this is the estimated cost for that at this time. And we're moving forward with that. We approved the site lease last night. And then Item 3, Phelan Park Phase 2. I have 1 million in there as tentative because we're working with the supervisor's office for ARPA funding, so that's the American Rescue Plan Act. They still have quite a bit of federal funds available to spend. I was told that they've set aside $500,000 for us and they want us to match it, but it's a reimbursement program. So we would spend the funds and then we submit for reimbursements, which they think we'll be able to do periodically. So we wouldn't have to pay for the whole project and then get reimbursed, just in case there's $1 million in there. And what we submitted for that would be, if I turned it to this page 5 of the ARPA grant page, would be the community teaching garden, the tennis/pickleball courts, and some fitness equipment. So it's basically all on the existing park site. And because we're submitting for that, and it looks like we're going to get that funding, we would be removing those items from our land and water conservation grant and looking to find another area of the park to fund with that grant now. So all of this is very fluid, it's always moving. We're constantly changing it up depending on what grant comes our way and what we can do. And then that's it for the parks portion of these major CIP things. And then vehicles, that's not for this committee. And so Steve. Start at 7.
So the bottom portion, number 7, I guess through 10. So every year I leave in my budget, for example, a water heater for the community center. So if one of them goes out, it's in there. There's a few things that are in there, so I'll just go down the list real quick. So in the green, the $8,000, it's one of the AC units is $8,000 to keep one in there. Underneath that, the ceiling tiles up at Pinion Hills Community Center, it's unlike these T-bar ceilings that we replaced last year. They're glued on, and it's going to be a little bit of a project. So that's where that comes in. The 1,500 below that, that's just to keep one of the drinking fountains in place in case someone decides they need it more than we do. Tables and chairs is kind of ongoing. The $2,000. The kitchen appliances is another thing. The $7,000 kind of covers one commercial dishwasher or one reefer unit for the commercial kitchens. And here's the hot water heaters, and there's one kept in there every year. And the bathroom fixtures / partitions at $20,000 is these partitions that we have in this unit B and also next door unit A. That's what this is about, to replace them with a little update, a little more modern type of thing. They've been there for years. They still work and that sort of thing. There's just a couple places that people don't notice that we can't get, without painting them, we can't get marks off of them and that type of thing. I just thought it would be a nice fresh upgrade.
On the ceiling tile project, is there any asbestos communication associated with that being in the building or the cost, or is that just because of the large square footage?
Actually, this is the beginning of this, and that might get adjusted a little bit. We're the first meeting for the budget for this upcoming year. I have twice cancellations to meet with guys to get the actual price. I've had 2 cancellations that they're rescheduling to get estimates from them. So that's a guesstimate from me. So that will be adjusted accordingly.
What is the height of the ceiling over there?
10, I believe.
And they need to remove the existing one? Did they put in a drop ceiling underneath?
Yeah, there's different ways to do it.
Less invasive?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's all the questions I had. I have a quick question.
I'm sorry, Mr. Barnes, can you please come up and use the microphone?
What happens to this building after we build the Civic Center? Just curious.
Yeah, this building will stay active. We don't know what the use is going to be. It's probably going to remain the senior center and available for community events. We have not designated this as any particular use yet other than what it currently is.
Okay.
Yeah, we're not using it, it's rented out.
Are there any other questions?
I had no additional questions on the community centers.
It for the parks portion of CIPs along with other maintenance plans and stuff. I have a really defined 10-year maintenance schedule. Just about everything you can see in this building is in there for painting to fixtures to, so anyways, it boils down to plugging away at it as you go for preventive maintenance, more so than.
Yeah, and so this schedule that we bring to the committee and the board is really the higher level items, so stuff that would be classified as a capital expense, or just kind of the bigger ticket maintenance items, just to keep you aware of it. But the majority of like light bulbs, stuff like that, all of that goes into a maintenance budget, which you'll see when you see the overall budget. So this is just mainly to keep you aware of big projects.
I have one additional question about the existing parks on the Capitol. All of our playground equipment is up to date in terms of in compliance with the regulations? Okay, because those things are high maintenance. All right. Thank you.
And as we're going into our budget year, I mean, we're already getting ready to work on the budget. So this is kind of review of what we're proposing for the 2023-24 and moving forward. If there's, we're going to need 5 years. And this is where we like to put that in.
And the reason I bring that up as far as capital goes, because you might know that one particular part of your playground equipment gets damaged or vandalized, and then you have to order it. You can't just replace it with anything. So
That's happening outside.
Yeah, and I,
When the skateboard puts his skateboard through the slide, and that's what.
yeah, okay. Thank you.
So that's all we have for the parks portion of the schedule. The rest is related to solid waste.
All right. Excellent. So then we will go to item 7, review of parks rules and regulations.
Thank you. These are the rules and regulations that have been in place for a number of years. We only have some questions on where we might be going in the future due to kind of how the dynamics of the park operation have changed over the last couple of years. We have pretty much everything that's standard, but what we're running into is a lot of issues with either parents of school children fighting in the park, school children fighting in the park, graffiti, and basically tearing up the restrooms. So we're going to be looking over this next year. As we get back into spring, it's going to get worse. But ideas from the board on what you would like to see as far as basically keeping our park from being destroyed. Once the police department is moved into the building where we're at right now in a couple of years, it's probably going to take care of a lot of the issues. But we're having to, as of right now, close the restrooms during the middle of the day due to vandalism and just kids being kids. But it's become probably an issue more over the last year or two than we've had in the last 10 years prior to that. Had to call the police several times. The kids fight, and the parents come in and defend their kids, and then pretty soon the parents are brawling in the park too. So we've come up with some ideas. The restrooms appear to be one of the probably one of the main items, would you say, Steve, as far as the vandalism. So we've even considered locking the restrooms during certain times and providing a porta potty. Because it's not as much fun to cram 5 kids in a porta potty to go smoke pot.
Yeah.
They will destroy porta potty too.
Just like this afternoon, for example, there was, I don't know how many kids were in that restroom, and when I went out there, surprisingly enough, they weren't doing anything. They weren't smoking. They weren't. He said, "We're just cold." I said, "Well, anyways." So they left, but that was shocking that they weren't doing anything in there.
Yeah, and, you know, this is our park rules and regs policy, but, you know, if there's no, we never felt like we needed it, we don't have any penalties or fines, so, I mean, I don't even know how we would try to collect any fines issued, but it could be a preventative measure. People know that they're gonna get fined for smoking in the bathroom or vandalism or scheduling fights in our park.
Has there been any interest in volunteers in the community to
Yeah,
come out and volunteer at the park during certain times?
Yeah, we talked about that. Yeah.
Maybe through the sheriff's department, through their community.
Their community volunteers. Yeah, that's something we looked at. We've even talked about like hiring a security officer or something, just for those hours, especially on Thursdays when school gets out so early.
Yeah, Thursday is the worst day.
Yeah. How often is our staff at the parks facilities? I mean, they're there to open up and then do maintenance throughout the day, and then.
Well, these facilities, such as this, these are closed during the day unless they're reserved. But we have park workers that are maintaining the sites on a daily basis, but they're not just hanging out in the park. Right? They might be doing cleanup or some painting. Yeah, but we're not large enough.
Although I'll just say Dennis does a pretty good job at, he knows the Thursday routine, and so he's always trying to scope out from a distance so they don't see him, and that's it.
And when we have a semi-serious problem, you know, there's a brawl in the park or something, the police are pretty quick at getting over here. We have the cell phone numbers of the captain.
Thank you. Any questions?
So this is the policy, so I don't know if there's something we can do within this policy to help. These kids clearly don't care about the rules, so making more rules probably isn't going to do anything. It's probably just going to be, again, just keeping the bathrooms locked and maybe figuring out a way to have a trained security person deal with this, because they get very violent. Like we had middle-aged women scheduling to come here to brawl, and they did. And one of them was punched out, and we had to go out and do first aid and keep her stable until the ambulance got here. And like, this is regularly occurring now.
Steve, how many hours a week would you estimate if you were to have a security guard here in the park, just kind of during the hours where we have issues?
Yeah, we would have to figure from the time that's the school gets let out until 6 o'clock maybe.
So probably about 5 or 6 hours a day.
Yeah, I think 4 hours a day would probably do pretty well.
But how many days a week would you think? You're talking on early release days or every day, or what are you thinking?
I think if we got into it, we get into it. We have that person daily.
Mm-hmm.
But of course, it's going to help just on Thursdays, you know, of course, but getting someone to just do Thursdays, for example, unless it was volunteer, of course, but.
And then, you know, it's a safety issue, so I'm looking at it from a risk management point. I don't want like mom and dad volunteers out there policing the park, because some of these people are not nice. It's not just like kids being a nuisance. There's adults out there that are being a nuisance, and there's people on drugs and all sorts of things happening, so.
We presume to be honest.
Yeah. I would like to see the bathrooms available for those moms that are bringing their kids to play in the park, and we're not just locking them up.
Normal play out in the park with the families and stuff. It's like the best ever.
Right.
And I don't know if there's a way to talk to the school police because I don't know what they do after school for a couple hours.
Like we may even be able to contract with them or something. So there's a lot of ideas.
They come down a couple times and just sat here, parked, and it seems to do a lot. Just the presence.
Something that we could do to kind of preempt some of this is put some money in the budget for security, whether it be like $25,000 for the year. And we could kind of see how far that would go and how often it's needed. But I think
Yeah.
Short of shutting down the restrooms and having to get a porta potty out there, I agree that's not
Right.
not the best thing. But having some money in the budget to
Mm-hmm.
protect the kids in the park.
Yeah, because the more we do and the more we build, the more we're gonna have to protect.
Right, and ultimately, when the sheriffs are in that building, that is going to help, because it's gonna say
So much.
sheriff's department.
Right, agreed.
And it'll be
So-
right out their window.
Right, so maybe something that we need to look into,
For 2
putting in the
years.
budget for the next 2 years to be able, because I don't think that your employees should be put in harm's
Well,
way.
we're not trained
to do
security.
that either.
Yeah.
Basically, I have 1.5 employee,
Yeah.
so.
Yeah. And we definitely have people that could deal with it, but then we have a situation with insurance.
Right,
So what we could do then is get a cost for either contracting with a security company to be here during those hours, or we can also look at what hiring somebody would be part-time.
And it always doesn't have to be a security person, it could be an observer, so they're not gonna break up anything, they're there to watch and report as well, so that's another thing to look at.
Yeah,
That's
they
what-
could just, the presence.
The
will
presence that
definitely
is
help.
there, they can watch.
Yeah.
Steve, do we have the standard signs on the park that say what the rules are?
Yes.
We
So
do.
when they walk through, if law enforcement does come out, they say, no, it's
Yeah, they're at the
posted.
entrances of the park.
Okay,
So,
Thank you.
and we haven't had major issues, but it is becoming enough of a problem now to where we're having to talk about this.
yeah.
It hasn't been that big of an issue in the past, but it is quickly becoming that way.
And we have worked with the sheriffs on permanently banning people from the park, so, they're not allowed to trespass. But that doesn't mean they won't
Yeah,
or will.
yeah. And I know for a while we were having problems with people taking water from the spigot out here and stuff like that, when we're in a meeting, they would walk by
When
and
we're in
do
a
it,
meeting
you know?
discussing water theft, somebody's
Right.
stealing water,
Yeah.
yes.
Has that still continued on? Because that would help in that arena as well.
It's not, as much as it was, but I know, like, on the weekends and stuff like that, it's like, the homeless know where the spigots are in town. So, but it hasn't really, I would say that's cooled off, that problem,
Good.
honestly.
Come June, it'll
It'll get warm again.
get
and-
warm again.
Yeah.
Yeah, hose bath is a little cold right now.
So if we were to, well, yeah, I think it's safe to say you could see a number in here that we would put in for security. I'm thinking in the range of probably a $25,000 a year, which is, looking at it as not that many hours a week
Yeah.
for somebody, but I like the idea of an observer who's willing to pick up the phone and call the police if necessary. I don't think we want to have a police presence in the park. That's not really practical.
No, just somebody that's identified, and if the kids are having a problem, they can go to for help. But that would show up in the budget under professional services, so we would just look at getting the cost for that and incorporating it into the budget, not in this schedule.
Okay. Seems reasonable. All right. Any other questions or thoughts on that?
no, I do not have
Okay.
any additional comments.
Awesome. All right, so then we will move on to number 8, staff report.
I think that's gonna be at the next meeting, and I don't think you have anything further, or I do.
No, I'm good on my reports.
Okay. Then we will go to committee comments. Anything additional that you had questions or thoughts on?
No, I do not.
Okay.
I'd like to say welcome to the committee.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So, and sorry for being late. My first one with you.
That's all right. Inclement weather today.
Yeah. And then the next time we meet, Steve, will we go over the events for the rest of the year?
Yeah, normal park meeting, yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Awesome. All right, so then we will go to 10, review of action items. Were there any prior meeting action items?
There were none.
And current meeting?
We're just gonna get some costs for security type measures in the park and bring them into the draft budget for review.
Okay. And then we will be doing our next meeting on February 7th. And we will be doing the
Events.
events. Thank you. That was, the word agenda was going to come out, and that was not the right word. All right. So, I guess with no further, we will adjourn at 5:07 PM.